Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Hugo Andrés Lopez and I am presenting you today the highlighter tool. A highlighter tool is a part of the DCR Solutions initiative from moving from regular the process descriptions given in a normal natural language like English into a formal specification. In this case, we're taking DCR graphs, like dynamic condition response graphs, which also have very certain similarities to other declarative specifications based on logic, such as declare models. This is a partnership. So apart from DCR Solutions, there's a partnership with the IT University of Copenhagen, the University of Copenhagen, and the Sydjysk. In a nutshell, what the highlighter tool aims is at supporting the caseworkers that are our users to build up models without a proper training in logic or formal methods. So what they have on one side, we have two panels. The textual panel where they have the natural English specifications, and they have the modular panel, and they can actually see both things at the same time. And the idea is that from the highlighter, from the textual descriptions, they can define what are the activities, in this case, who is performing what, and what are the constraints. So this allows them to construct models straight from the textual description, but also to find what are the discrepancies, to change things in the model and see if there are things in the model that haven't been presented in the original specification, what are the ambiguities and how to map them back into either enriching the tag and the description or mapping into missing parts of the text. This demo is structured as follows. First, we're going to look at how to install the application. The application lives inside the DCR process portal, so we're going to see how to create users and install application as a plugin. And then we're going to start looking at how to start modeling from textual descriptions into process models in very simple cases. Then we're going to look a little bit more into how to model the complexity of natural English or natural language modeling. And finally, we would like to see how is to work back with the model and to preserve traceability back into the text. Users who have been using DCR graphs before and have used the portal before, they are welcome to skip the first part of the demo. The highlighter application lives inside the DCR portal, so in order to using it, we need to create a new account at DCR Graphs. So we'll need to go to dcrgraphs.net and then hit it to sign up. Then you'll have to fill out the market details. You can create an anonymous account in order to make reviews or the like, and then verify to create a username and password and your email, accept to the terms and conditions, and then click on register. Once you do that, then you'll get an email to your account and you just have to confirm it, and then you'll be able to come inside the DCR portal. Once we have created a username, we can access to the portal. So this will be my welcome page, and then what we will need to do is to enable the application. So what we're gonna do is going to my user and then connect a new application, a new plugin. We go here to the App Store and then we just say highlighter app, and then we just click on enable, and we go back to the portal and say now it's already running. We just need to create a new graph. Now we're going to start making models straight from process specifications. So what we have in here, it's a process specification coming from the business process academic initiative. So we're just gonna copy and we're gonna paste it in our model. Okay, this is a new model. This is a new graph, and I'll just click on done. So now we have saved a new graph that we are gonna open with the highlighter tool. Now we have three views. The first one is the highlighter view that you have in here. Then you have the model view, and then you have a filter where all the components and the correspondence between them will be listed. So far we don't have anything in the modeler, so the filter is empty, but we're gonna start populating that. And the way it works is that you have the description on the text, on textual description here. We're gonna start making things. What can we find on our descriptions? Okay, what the description says in here is that it includes two major roles: the agents that are supporting customer authors. You would also say, well, there's also a customer. Then it also says that it's clerks that works indoors. Okay, so we have at least explicitly what the description says is that there's two. Okay, and then you start looking at what the description says, and there's some activities here and some constraints. So what we're gonna see is this last sentence, or second to last sentence, that tells us that it says, after the clerk has received the confirmation from the agent, she issues the money order from the client. Okay, so we know that the clerk is doing an activity. What activity is doing? Well, it's receiving confirmation from the agent. Okay, so we're gonna mark that as an activity, and that activity is performed by the clerk. And then we know that after that, she, means the clerk, issues a money order for the client. So let's mark that as well as a highlighter, and also an activity. Okay, we also know that this is part of the clerk activities has to do, and we know that it's also there's a constraint that she cannot do the money order before making the confirmation. So we're gonna identify such constraint in here, also in the highlighter tool, saying, well, this is a relation. What kind of relation? It's a condition, because you cannot start doing one before the other. So from this into issues the money, you can do more than like one to many or many to one, depends on what we need. And then we just click on done, and then we already have certain constraints in here. We'll keep on doing this for all the text, for at least all the explicit conditions we have. But the important thing is that, okay, well, now we have some models in here, but as you see, the filter is telling me where are these things located. So in here I can say, well, what are the activities of the clerk? We know what activities are here. What activities the agent has been done? So far, nothing. And then if I have linked some things in here, some activities, they would appear both in the designer and highlighted in the highlighter tool. I can also click in here, and then I would also see which ones are mapped into the modeler and in the controller. So in that way I preserve the traceability, because I might change either the text in the description or the text in the modeler, and somehow the traceability should be preserved. So this is a way to preserve it without affecting the model. Mapping natural language specifications into declarative processes might not be as straightforward, but that is mainly due to the complexity of natural language processing. What we're gonna see right now, it's some of the features that the highlighter tool provides in order to map, to preserve that correspondence and make the traceability possible. The first thing that we're gonna see it's aliasing. So when you see some of the roles and some of the activities might be called differently later on in a process description, so you might lose traceability. We're gonna see the way how to do aliasing in here. So the first thing that we see is that here we have defined an activity saying, well, it's an activity calling the agent to support a customer with additional assistance. Now I have that activity here, and I know later reading at the text that this activity is actually mentioned later on, saying if the agent has completed additional support. This actually refers to the same activity. So in order to preserve this the correspondence, I'm gonna mark this as an alias. And now when I click on this one, or when I click on this one, I would be able to mention the same activity in the model. That will be the same for roles. So for instance, in here I have descriptions of the agent. Well, this agent is the same agent that was before and defined earlier. So I'm just gonna go here and say, well, this agent is actually the one that was defined earlier, and also this one, he, when he says he, is actually saying he, the agent. So that will be the first thing for aliases and roles and activities. Now there have been also some implicit descriptions of roles that we have also marked in the model. It can be certain implicit activities, and the implicit activities can be communication activities. So when you see this text, when the insurance company receives a new claim, the clerk calls the agent to actually claim and checks the claim. It has two subjects actually. One that is actually performing the initial action, and another one that is the receiver of the action. So this is a communication activity. So we're gonna mark that also as an activity, not only for the clerk, but for the agent. I'm just gonna map it here. I'm gonna change the text just to make sure we understand. Receives call, and we're gonna do that. It will be the agent who's doing that, and of course we'll need to probably make, well, now we see that this relation has one activity, but then we probably would like to include the call for agent to receive call from, and that would be also a condition. So in that way, we can actually find what are the implicit roles, what are the implicit activities, and create a communication between agents. The highlighter tool provides two modes of operation. The first one is to move from the process description in text into the process model, but also would like to provide the traceability back. So once you start playing with the model, or once you start creating the model without a specific process specification in text, you would like to see how the changes and the things are identified in the text. And for that, we're going to use the highlighter and the controller here in the filter. So the first thing is that we can start completing our model, because some of the relations that they were not explicit in the process specification makes our process model incomplete. For doing that, we could go and play with the simulator tool. Just go in here and find some of the event traces that are not compliant, and you can do that. But you can also know, because due to the model, it's due to the knowledge. So I know that there should be a precondition for an agent confirming the claim that actually has checked the claim. So I'm gonna do that. And I also note that for each of the claims, there should be at most one money order. So I'm just gonna do that, and I can only create one new case. So at most one new case. Okay, so these are new constraints that I have in my model, and I would like to see them on the highlighter tool. So if I just hit on reload, then I know that they are at the end. Like, these are all the elements that have been identified, but in red I find for instance, all the relations that haven't been identified. So for the money order, for instance, I can just click on here and see, okay, this is a relation that hasn't been placed, and I can go and identify them in the text, or I can just add new text to place it. Another possibility is that we would like to start refining the model, adding new activities from the process evolution, also by identifying new requirements or new activities whatsoever. So one of the things that we have noticed in the process descriptions is that the support of a customer with additional assistance can come in the form of getting a new ID from the public authority. Now we would like to start refining that in the model and see how it looks, the traceability. So we're just gonna do a new activity here and saying that's getting a new ID card. Okay, and we know also that for doing an ID card, we also need to block the previously generated one. Yes, and we're gonna have this as a precondition, and we're gonna do this inside, and then we're gonna nest these activities inside. So now we have a model that has a refinement with certain relations and with certain new information. Now, what we can see in here is that those activities appear in here. They need to reload in the highlighter to get the proper names. But now we can see that here block the ID card is actually part of the elements that haven't been mapped, and they are in red here. So we know that this one was actually present in the model. So I'm just gonna say that this one was present here. So I will ask to assign the text, and for the new one, we can also say block. Getting a new activity. So I can also refine the specification that was earlier defined. Okay, so in that way, I have been able to map these new activities, refine the specification, and provide traceability of the elements that existed and that haven't been mapped in the model. I hope that with this you can go and try and play with the tool. My email will be placed down there, so you can send me information, you can send questions. We also have some feedback tools, and then we also have some manuals here in the help section. Please go and try it out, and we're looking forward to get your comments. This is Hugo Andres Lopez, and thank you very much for your attention. Have a good day.